Hello, my name's Chief, but most people call me Kieran, so hello. Now there's been a few comments on my YouTube videos over recent weeks whereby people would like me to give an overview of my mixing desk and setup. So I've decided that today is that day. It's Saturday the 4th of May. I've got a spare hour for a change, so I thought I'd do it today. So I'm going to run over all of the bits and pieces in my setup. I've got various cameras set up so you can get a good glimpse. This is actually in my living room, this gear right in the corner. So like I say, I'm going to go over the various pieces of equipment, how I've got it set up and linked, how I go about mixes, and I'll do them in little segments and chop them all up, and hopefully the result will be okay. So as you can see, there's various components in my setup. I have an Allen & Heath Xone DB4 digital mixer, which has got its own inbuilt sound card, so it's fully digital. Staying with Allen & Heath, I have a Xone K2 MIDI controller, which also has an inbuilt sound card. And then we have the Pioneer Cdj 2000 Nexus, or pair of. We have a MIDI Fighter 3D, which is by the folks at DJ Tech Tools, and then the NI hardware, the Native Instruments hardware. We've got a Mark II machine, as well as a Control F1, and the rest of it is a home build IKEA desk, which you will also see on DJ Tech Tools, and a pair of KRK Rokit 8 active monitors. So I'm in the main a tractor user, although I do use the Cdjs on their own with record box as well, which is good fun. But in the main, like I say, I am a tractor user. Now you'll see just over there is, I guess, the heart. Most people would say that the heart of their mixing setup is going to be their mixer, but I'm going to say it's that sound card there. Because without it I wouldn't be able to do the stuff that I can with this, especially at the flick of a switch, which I'll show you in a bit. So effectively what we've got here is the Cdjs using the Phono RCA plugs. They'll come in out of the back, and they'll be going into the channels on the mixer, and then the outputs are obviously going into the DB4 itself in analog mode. So you'll see on the mixer here there's a little switch on each channel, so currently all operating in analog mode, which means, just hold all this together at the same time, it gives me that. Now at the flick of a switch, because I've got it all double cabled, at the flick of a switch, if I hit that over to digital, what that means is that I won't be using the RCA phonos there. I'll be using the digital cable, which is just underneath, which are also plugged into the CDJs. So just by that flick of a switch, then gives me the capability to use record box. So I prefer to use record box cabled, wired, should I say. So there's an Apple USB adapter there. You can use it, and Pioneer do. They do like to market it on the fact that it is wireless, but I found it a bit flaky, I must admit. So I like to have it. I like to have it cabled and run record box direct from the laptop. Even though you don't need to see it, I usually turn the screen off when I'm using record box. But that's how I do it. So what I do then is I'd hit the record box button and connect up and go from there. But just for now, I'm going to show you the analog stuff. So I'll flick that back over. Excuse any silly noise coming from the microphone. I'm trying to hold the camera as well as this big thing, which could be a bit dodgy, but there you go. So as I said, I'm a tractor user, and I mainly use the Pioneer 2000 Nexus with tractor's HID mode, which works very, very well. So I'll show you how easy it is to do that. I'll just power this off. Now the CDJs are just connected via USB into the laptop. Now you'll see there's one little cable there, the little black one, and that goes all the way under there to a little 7-port hub, Belkin hub, and then hanging off that Belkin hub is another 7-port hub over there. So all of those ports that are in use, and there's a quick look, there's probably 10 or 11 cables in use there, what with webcams and all the other gear on here. All that feeds just down that one USB cable there. So power it on. Excuse my shaky videoing. Now on the Cdjs you've got a number of options, so you can use Rekordbox, you can link it, which is the tractor link, you can use your USB sticks or your SD cards or good old CDs. So for the purpose of this bit I'm going to hit the link, and then what it asked me is it asked me to connect over USB into tractor. So if I push that, it will ask me which deck I want to control, which is going to be deck A, so I'll push it again. And then we're in. So effectively, whenever I move the encoder on here on the Cdj, it will move, it will scroll up and down on the Cdj screen, as you can appreciate, like so. But what that will mean as well is that it's actually moving within tractor itself, as you can see. So it's nice and simple, it works really well. I had a pair of Denon SC3900 turntable media players before the 2000 Nexus, which I really enjoyed. It's nice having a vinyl feel, but I just didn't get on with timecode. I use tractor in a way whereby I depend on hot cues a lot, and I just couldn't get on with the way that timecode handles hot cues. So unfortunately they had to go, although I did enjoy them. So those are the Cdjs. I'm sure everyone knows all about these, their capabilities and what they do. So I'm not going to go on too much. I just wanted to go on about how I connect them. I'm sure you can check out all the Pioneer information on these bad boys if you want to hear more. So I'm now going to go on to the Control F1. So as I mentioned a little while ago, the Tractor Audio, the Native Instruments Audio 10 sound card is at the heart of this. Now, the Allen & Heath Xone DB4 does have an inbuilt sound card, so Tractor will see that sound card and I could use it through Tractor. However, because I have the Control F1, which is USB only, I need a method of routing the sound from Tractor, from the F1 through to my speakers, and the only way to do that is actually via the sound card itself. So there'll be RCA cables coming out of there and going into I use deck C for my F1, so they'll go into the third channel on the mixer and the RCA cables and routed through to that channel within the audio settings within Tractor itself. So there's no way to do it without it. You can't plug the USB controller direct into the mixer. You've got to route it through the sound card. So I use obviously I use deck A and deck B, using two decks as normal. Deck C within Tractor I'll use for the Control F1. Deck D is pretty much redundant, although I do use it from time to time if I've got a little loop that I want to play. However, because I've relegated my Control X1 from my setup, I don't use that, or haven't used it for a while. So back to the F1, you'll see some pretty good performance videos, on YouTube and the like, of people using this, and it's a fantastic bit of equipment. Building and making your own remix sets is good fun. However, I don't really use it. I guess the way NI over intended, and what I mean by that is, people pushing buttons and loops and stuff continuously. Whilst that's very good, and the talent behind that is great, I prefer to keep my my mixing pretty simple, really. So I'll use it in the main just for one shot samples, and just strangely, I don't know why, I'll only use it usually when playing techno. Don't ask me why, I don't know, but there you go. So one shot samples, you'll see, I'll trigger these off during my sets and videos, every so often, and it just adds to a bit of atmosphere. But obviously, you're not just you haven't just got these. You can put anything you want in. So you put your WAV files or your MP3 files, so on and so forth, and mix them out and chop them up, and you can do all sorts. And it's really good fun. And what I like about it as well is that you can use the effects on the mixer with your samples. So I do like a bit of reverb. So if I put the reverb on, and so I'll just hit this as it is, which is a nice echoey sound, but put a bit of reverb on. A little bit of delay. And you can see how you can turn a pretty nice sample as it is at the moment anyway, into something a little bit different just by getting a bit creative with the effects on the mixer. So that's pretty much how I use the Control F1. Okay, onto the machine. Oh, sorry about the squeaks. Right, machine I do not use at all for its primary purpose, which is music production. I do have a music production goal, but I just can't find the time to start getting into it. I've learnt mixing. I've got to the standard that I am now. Whether that's any good or not, I don't know. I'll let you be the judge. But I've got to the standard that I am now, and it's taken me about 15-16 months from having absolutely no experience at all. So I thought, well, I'll see if I can pick up production. I wanted the machine primarily for the function that I'm going to tell you in a second, although I wanted to use its primary function, which is music production, as the secondary function for what I wanted to use it for. Yeah, slightly confusing. I'll shut up now. So I use the Machine Mark II because I wanted a big fat button and easy access to hot cues and loops. Now you'll see that I've changed the coloured pads there to blue, green and red. Now the blue ones from left and right and top to bottom, the blue ones trigger a 4-beat loop, an 8-beat loop, a 16-beat loop and a 32-bit loop, and the two blue ones underneath are a 1-beat loop and a 2-beat loop. So if I hit that, it will trigger the looping tractor. It will light up, and then when I want to take the loop off, I press it again, and then it will run as normal as the track will do. The two green ones I've set, or I've mapped to move beat grids left and right. You don't really need that. If you're syncing, you want to move it. But if beat grids are off, and I do sync beat grid data and all of the data from tractor to record box, and I'll tell you how to do that in a moment. So it's nice to have a quick access if you want to move beat grids left or right on the fly. And the red buttons underneath are simply hot cues. So you'll see that there's hot cue 1, 2 and 4 lit there at the moment, and the others aren't, which correspond obviously to the hot cues on the track. Again, excuse my shaky hand. So I use it for that. Now you'll see here there's A, and that corresponds to deck A. And if I want to change or if I want to hit loops or hit the hot cues on deck B, then I literally swap that over to B, and that's it. It's way overpriced for what I use it for, and I probably wouldn't buy it again, given the fact of knowing that I haven't used it for its primary purpose, which is music production. But I did want large buttons to give me quick and fast access to hot cues and loops. So that's how I use Machine. Okay, onto the MIDI Fighter 3D. You've probably read and seen a lot about these. They're really good fun. Again, I'll say that I don't over-egg effects. I prefer a simpler mix and using effects sparingly and pretty quietly if I can. Now, what I mean by that is that the mapping that I use on the MIDI Fighter 3D is called not very prepared, am I? I think it's Deck Grat Motion by Flash Fludder. I believe. So if you go to maps.djtechtools.com and do a search for the maps for the MIDI Fighter 3D, you will find the one that I'm using there. And there's various delays and reverbs and beat mashing options and gates and so on. I mainly use it for beat mashing. I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with beat mashing. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I do. It just depends. But what I really dislike is overuse. It's good to remix a track live and all that sort of stuff. I appreciate that. But this is just my personal preference is to keep it nice and quiet. And what I mean by that is I had to tune the mapping somewhat to turn down the dry wets, because I thought it was a bit angry. So some of the buttons in the mapping I fine-tuned them a bit just to my liking. We're all different, and we all have different ways of mixing. So that's mine. That's the MIDI Fighter 3D. Now the Allen & Heath Xone K2. I should have really done this video in the dark, but there you go. It's a very, very, very capable MIDI controller. It does have a built-in sound card, as I mentioned, and at the moment I use it in one of two ways. As it stands at the moment, I've got a standard, a very basic actually, MIDI mapping that I use, and the first two channels here and here, they are controlling 6 effects, so a bank of 6, so 3 and 3 for deck A, and then that's mirrored on this side for deck B. So I've got some reverbs, I've got some ice verb, I've got a couple of the new tractor macro effects and so on, and each one of these sliders alters the dry wet for the effect that I want to place onto said channel. So either on deck A or on deck B. Don't use these as yet. Well, I don't use these with this mapping that I'm currently using. However, I do actually use it a second way. If I want to prep tracks, for example, but I'm not at home, then what I'll do is I'll usually take this little controller with me, and I've got it mapped all over the buttons here, and EQs and so on at the top, so I can actually use this as a mini controller. So I'm playing, I'm cueing. You've got a headphones output here, so you can monitor. It's like having a mini control S4 or S2. You can see how long it is there. It's slightly longer than the F1. But for those that know the F1, they're still pretty small and pretty manageable to throw in a backpack if you wanted to. So when it's here on my desk, it's controlling tractor effects and dry wet, and when it's not on my desk, it's acting as a little mini controller. And it's up to you to map them. Obviously, you can find maps online via various sources, but it is just a MIDI controller. It doesn't have a primary purpose like the F1 or the X1 or so on. It's something that you've got to map up yourself or download maps of your choosing. These things I love to bits. They're the KRK Rokit 8 active speakers, and they're sitting on a couple of vibra pads on a stand on the IKEA custom build desk, and they're brilliant. They're probably a bit too big for a living room, but they'd be great for. Effectively, this is a studio. But if you've got a fully blown studio and you've got all your soundproofing and so on and so forth, these things are pretty incredible, and they can pump out some pretty good sound. I've had these about 12, 14 months or so now, and my first set of monitors were some Aira 4s or Aira 6s, I forget now, but they didn't have the clarity that I wanted. I've heard some people talk about the clarity of the KRKs, but I find them pretty damn good. But then again, I'm not into production as yet. The only downside is that they're pretty bassy, and they do pump out some severe sound. And as you can see, this wall here actually backs onto my neighbours, so I need to be pretty careful, and which is mainly why on my videos you'll always see me mixing in headphones and not in the traditional way. So it's sort of how I've learnt, and obviously I've got to be respectful of the neighbours in the meantime as well. So those are the KRK Rokit 8s. And then in the middle is my laptop of choice, which is the MacBook Pro. It's the Retina 15-inch, which I've had since August last year. I started my tractor ship on a little MacBook Air, the 11-inch MacBook Air, and whilst it was more than capable at managing tractor, I just needed some more screen real estate. That was it. So that's there. This stand, by the way, if anyone wants or is in the market for a laptop stand, I thoroughly recommend it. I forget what it is offhand. I wasn't going to talk about this. It's a bit of a late addition to the video. But if anyone wants the detail of it, let me know in the comments, and I'll grab it for you. It was about £40 from Amazon, but it is absolutely rock solid. It's very well built, very sturdy, and you can move it around and so on. So if you're looking for something that's high quality for a relatively low cost, then I'd recommend that, and I'll be happy to share the details of that if you want it. Now, this thing, it's won various awards. We live in a pioneer world, the DJM 900 and so on, and of course they're all brilliant mixers. But I'm going to stand up for this guy here. It's won Mixer of the Year. I think it was 2011, 2012. It's won various accolades, and it's certainly worthy of those. Some of the stuff that you can do on it just blows my mind sometimes. If you get in the zone, pardon the pun, this thing, the creativity is incredible. I bought this off the back of seeing Mark E.G.'s run-through videos. Mark E.G. has got an affiliation with Alan and Heath. He's a well-respected techno DJ, and Alan and Heath got him on board to help demonstrate and overview the effects power of this DB4 unit. If you YouTube Mark E.G., just the letters E.G. And then Alan and Heath, you'll see his videos pop up, and they just blew me away. The power and the audio quality of this thing is just it's unparalleled. It's phenomenal. It really is. So I'm not going to go on about individual bits and pieces. If you want to know more, there's plenty of other reviews and tutorials out there. So go and have a look. Although if anyone's got any questions specific with regard to this or anything else, then let me know. I'll always try and respond to comments. So that's no bother. Be my guest. Okay, so I showed you how easy it was for me to connect the Cdjs up to Tractor earlier. I'm now going to do the same with Rekordbox. So it's currently connected to Tractor. You can see the blue link light flashing away there. Now all I do is have Rekordbox loaded on the MacBook, which it is, and then hit the Rekordbox button. Now it will then need me to hit the link button on the software, which is just over there, which I'll do now. And then they're linked. Now they're not linked by USB. They are linked via the network. That might be a bit of a common misconception. I need the Cdjs USB'd to the laptop for Tractor, but for Rekordbox you don't. It's done over the network. So in the back of the Cdjs there's an Ethernet cable which you plug into a switch over there. Now Pioneer are a bit naughty, and they say that these are Wi-Fi devices. They're not Wi-Fi devices. They can transmit network data, but they do so over an Ethernet cable. So you can't just turn these Cdjs on and connect them to your Wi-Fi network. It doesn't happen like that. You have to plug them into a switch, and obviously then your wireless device, so your laptop, is on the same physical network that the Cdjs are, and that's how it sends the tunes over. So it's not via USB. So that's then hooked in, is connected, and it gives me all of the data from my Rekordbox collection. So if I load a track, It just wants me to confirm or release the fact that I'm using Tractor at the moment over USB. And then it loads the track, it loads the beat grid data and any cue points and so on that you've got in there, and then you can use it as a normal CDJ, like so. And that is now using the digital signal into the mixer and not the analog via that switch there. So there you go. Obviously it renders, let me just stop that. Obviously when using this mode it renders my NI gear useless, obviously, because I'm not using Tractor. So then it's just me, the Cdjs, and the mixer. But I guess that's what it's all about. That's probably it for the equipment. Looking around, oh, hang on, pair of Pioneer HD 2000 headphones there. Love those things. I know that the Sennheiser HD 25s are popular amongst DJs. I tried a pair, they weren't for me, and I went back to those. Again, it's all personal preference. So that's hardware. Hardware and desks. You can see the sort of space and shelving space you've got if you do an IKEA home build. Now, some people have asked me before about how I make my videos, and I've got various cameras. The camera that I'm using now, so that one, this one is usually over here doing this perspective that you'll see on most of my videos, and it's standing on a tripod, but I wanted to have this a bit more mobile today, so I've taken it off. However, other ones are, you'll see I've got a little shelf up there, so that's the one that you'll see from the left hand perspective, and then you'll see a little bit of trunk in there, and we follow it around, and then that's how I get the top shot. So I'm using Logitech C920 full HD webcams. They'll record in 1080, but it's just a number. I always publish mine at 720. I don't really see any point in going up to 1080, but again, it's personal preference. So there's one there, there's one up there, and then I'll usually use the one that I'm holding here, and I'll do a triple cam. I do actually have another one of those, and it sits literally on top of it. So if I want to stream and record at the same time, I use, but I want the left-hand perspective. Then it usually sits up there. But because of this video, it's actually here, so it's recording that perspective at the moment. I'll usually stream to a when I do stream, I usually stream to a service called VJstream. .tv, which has been built by from the ground up by a friend of mine in the States. So if you have a look at vjstream.tv, it's free, it's high quality, you can stream if you've got the bandwidth, and if you've got the internet connection to handle it, you can stream in 1080p if you want, and at full 320 kilohertz sound, all for free, no adverts. So check it out if you're interested, and sign up. So that's what I use when I go live. I guess the only thing I haven't mentioned is the lighting. I use some LED strips. Now, the one at the front here, there, I've got two of those strips, and they're from Maplin's in the UK. Cost about £30. If you want the detail on that, let me know in the comments, and I'll try and dig out the details because I can't remember at the moment to hand. So I've got one of those that runs across the front under the shelf there, but there's also another strip that runs across the back which projects the lights onto the wall at the back. So there's two of those. They've got a little remote control. At the back of this shelf, you'll see that there's a second one. There's a second strip that's white at the moment. That one is from IKEA. So when I picked up all the bits for the desk, I picked up an IKEA kit as well, just for something different really, as is that little circular one there and over there. So a couple of spotlights underneath underneath the speakers, and they're IKEA too. So LED lighting from Maplin in the UK, they're about £30, as well as IKEA. Can't remember the cost, but I think they were pretty similar. So I think that's about it. I'm looking around and I'm trying to see whether there's anything else I've missed. I don't think I've missed anything. I've got my S4 sat there, not doing a lot at the moment. But yeah, there we go. So I was asked to put something together. I hope this has been of use. It's not something I've done before, so excuse any dodgy bits. I hope you found it useful. And as I've said, if anyone's got any questions on how to get certain things set up and working, whilst I'm by no means an expert, I'll always try and respond to questions when I can. So all the best. See you soon.